I see it too.
Okay.
I got five questions on the crib sheet because I haven't
Yeah, yeah.
written them. Okay, good.
Alrighty, folks. I do see that we are live. Welcome, everyone. We have the ripple effect on live on December 1st. I'm here with my good friend and co-host Erika Gimbel, and we have an exciting guest today, Declan Spring, who is a podcast host and a top producing realtor. So, a great guy, a photographer, a man of many talents and skills. And we're excited to have you today, Declan. How are you doing?
I'm good. Great to be here. I appreciate being asked.
Great. And I just love your podcast and talking to you about that, and also the artwork that you have for it is such a cool thing. With that I know Lisa Missoura, another colleague of both of ours, helped you fulfill your vision on that. If you don't mind just
Yes,
telling
did a
us the
great job.
quick story behind that, at some point we can ask you about that if we have time. Um, I did want to, Erica, how are you doing today? Oh, she's muted. Okay, well, we'll get right into it.
I'm good. Thanks for asking. It's a little chilly here in Oakland inside.
Okay,
Nice
okay,
to be with you.
okay. Thank you. Um, with that, we're going to get right to it. I know we have an event coming up later. You guys are both welcome to join December 1st Business Symposium. And we were excited to get Declan on, and I've been looking forward to having him on for a while. Just given that he also has a COVID podcast. But I want to turn it over to you, Declan, and just have you tell us your story and your professional background, and if you remember and you don't mind, just a little bit of the story behind your artwork there, because I just think it's such a fabulous thing for your podcast.
I know you love the artwork. You're visual. You're a very visually and oriented person with your profession. So I came to well, I'm not from here. First of all, I'm Irish, and so I moved here from Ireland a long time ago, 1993. But I came to real estate through photography. Photography is what I studied at the third level, and and I got into commercial photography and residential real estate photography, and was doing work in both sides of real estate. And I got my license along the way, which made my job as a photographer easier. And that was when I lived in Marin County in about 2003 or four. And it was 2007 when I finally went professional with real estate. Uh, the commission seemed good to me. So I still do photography, but I do it now as a hobbyist and not professionally anymore. And moved to the East Bay in 2007 or 8 and joined the brokerage I'm with now, Red Oak Realty. Actually, it's my 10-year anniversary with Red Oak Realty in Berkeley this December. So I'm thrilled that I've made it a decade here. It feels like yesterday, but I've been a decade with Red Oak Realty, and there you go.
Perfect. And if you don't mind just telling us a little bit about your podcast and kind of what you do with that, and how you came up with the idea during COVID to do that.
Yeah, sure. Well, the podcast is an effort to do two things. Well, first of all, you refer to it as a COVID podcast, and that's absolutely true. So it was definitely as it was directly because of COVID. And what happened is the real estate community is an incredibly social community of realtors. We are all um, we cooperate with one another. If you think about it, I'm trying to list or sell a property. I need a buyer's agent out there somewhere to bring a buyer to. So we cooperate with one another, and as a result, even though we're in direct competition, we have this lovely, perfect balance. in the real estate community, where we're all each other's best friends and support, but we're also in competition. It's a wonderful community. I can't say enough great things. Now, when COVID came, like so many other things, the rug was pulled from under us, and everybody was very disengaged. We had no broker tour, we had no office meetings, yet we still want to serve our clients and serve our community and do our jobs. But how to connect with one another became the question. And for me, the place I wanted to turn was to try and bring conversations to my community from other top producing agents or relevant people, so that my colleagues in the East Bay community in particular could tune in and hear voices that they recognized describing how they were getting through the shelter in place period. And so that was my goal, to try and humanize the story and let everybody know, hey, we're all in this together, because I really cherish and value my real estate community. So that was the first effort. And the second was more personal. I'm a big fan of long form conversation. I think it's the antidote to the current culture, which is very attention grabbing, and we're being pulled in so many directions by social media in particular, but everything, our phones ding all the time. So the art of conversation is something I'm a huge proponent of. And I love that in an era of sound bites and 15-second Instagram videos, we also have podcasts, which allow people to practice the art of conversation. And I wanted to be a part of that movement. And the podcast movement's a big movement. There's an infinite number, seemingly, of podcasts out there. And I just wanted to be part of it, and I wanted to practice the art of conversation with people I admire and bring value to my community. So that was my goal, and it's worked out really well. It's kept me sane.
Great, and that was very well put. So much of what you said really resonates with me, and I was actually explaining that, or trying to explain that concept to somebody the other day, about how unique the real estate community is, in that they are in competition with one another, yet they're such good friends. I think it's such a great model for our business environment. It's really all mindset. If that's what you believe, you can actually function in that, and they get along great. I think too often small business owners feel this friction when they're in same or similar industries, and I've really tried to do my best to build bridges with other videographers and marketers, and there's such a synergy with that. And I see that in the real estate community with, I've been to some of your guys' parties and people in and around the industry, and it's a very impressive model. And I think that's why you guys are so successful too, in large part, and it's, which we're going to get to a little bit about it. And you're such a friendly guy with your Irish background, and I've really been amazed at the Irish, how it is such a more talking culture, with the pubs, and people relate to one another instead of kind of being, oh, I'm too busy for that, or I'm gonna, too often people kind of hold up and they get out of the pattern of that social aspect, especially in COVID. So I think it's a very nice balance that you've done, and that's probably too long of a testimonial, but I was
I
been looking
appreciate
forward
it.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, the Irish enjoy language. We enjoy. There is a reverence for language in Ireland and in Irish culture, and we have a lot of great Irish writers in particular. And so there's just there's a pride in use of language in Ireland, and it's just something you're raised with. It's a cultural aspect of being Irish, is this reverence for language. So it's hard not to have it in you when you're born and raised in Ireland.
Yeah, excellent. I spent a year in England. I did go to Ireland a few times, and I really see that there's such an attention to detail and language that the English have. And I know the Irish, how you pronounce things, your dialect is your kind of code and your brand. And you don't see that to the same level over here. But language is so important, and they actually say, language drives culture. So it's really a huge part of everything. And I appreciate, actually, didn't know that explained in that way about the Irish, but that was very well put. I did want to get to some of the things you've learned from your podcast. I really appreciate your vision for your podcast, and I've just seen it really take off and, provide a lot of these benefits that our podcast has provided for us and reaching people during this COVID environment. What have you gleaned from your podcast, if you don't mind further elaborating on that?
Well, the first thing I've learned, kind of just reinforced to me, is how valuable it is in our lives to learn to listen to somebody else speak. I've learned that when you give somebody the room to talk to you and feel like they're being heard, they really open up. People really like to be heard and listened to. And so I've enjoyed doing the podcast and watching a conversation unfold in real time with people I've known for years often, but they're telling me things that they've never had the room to tell me before because I haven't been sitting there to listen to that story. So that's been a really nice lesson for me. Of course, it permeates all of my other relationships now, even my relationship to myself. So the art of listening is something that I'm learning as I do the podcast. The other thing on a more practical level is I've learned how my community has adapted to the shelter-in-place situation and the pandemic. And again, I've learned to be just in awe of the community of professionals that I'm a part of. And as I learn, how the community is coping with and adapting to the situation, I'm able to bring that to my colleagues, particularly in the East Bay, and have them understand what's going on behind the scenes too. Because it's that sense of not knowing what's happening that I'm hoping my podcast can bridge for people so that they can understand, okay, this is what's happening, and we all feel again like we're part of the community. So I'm learning about my own community.
Excellent.
I'm going to turn it over to Erika here. If you said your tower garden's making some noise there, Erika.
Oh yeah, I just unplugged it so we don't have to hear it watering itself. Yes, good to be with you and hear you, Declan.
Hey, Eric.
Yeah, so nice to be with you. So if you're just joining us, I don't know if we have viewers right now, but we're on what is called the ripple effect. And the ripple effect is all about how we create change. Little changes over time create effects that go into our lives and for the better. So I don't know if you knew that you're on the ripple effect right now, but that's what this is. And so my question to you is, what do you see are the secrets to your success during this crazy time, Declan?
Yeah, right. I mean, so it's an interesting word for me, success, because you have to, first of all, define personally for yourself, well, what is success to me? So I think in a year when the potential for overwhelm is just so viscerally, I mean, it's in the air all the time, right? Understanding how to get through this, navigate this year successfully requires some intention and some careful thought. So business has been different.
Tell us about that.
So business has been extraordinary, and it's been a successful year in business. But more than that, it's been I would say the success I've had in my year has been more personal success. Mental resilience, emotional resilience, learning to train my mind to function more intentionally so that I can keep that sense of overwhelm at bay. These are the successes that I'm trying to focus on this year. And of course, I need to do well in business, of course. But the success that I really wanted this year to achieve was the success of being more intentional with my time, being more intentional with my mindset, and all of those things that you guys discuss so well on this podcast, the show. So I think success, the secret of my success in COVID has been to take a step back and really use the quiet time to train my mind to work with intention. Does that make any sense?
Love it. I love it. That kind of leads into my next question is how do you stay sane during this time, and how do you stay clear? So you're already kind of answering it, and I mean you're talking my language. It sounds like it's,
Okay.
yeah. So keep going, or if you'd like me to get more specific with you, but we'd love to hear how you've been really keeping it
Okay.
together.
So I've become very careful with social media, and a great movie, if you haven't seen it, is The Social Dilemma, which came out fairly recently on Netflix. Well worth watching, because we live in an era of attention grabbing, right? Everything is looking for our attention. That's what the marketplace is for your attention. Everything's seeking your attention. So I've become very careful with my social media. I've become very careful with news sources, and where I get my news from. I've become very intentional in how I approach my email. Everything is given a specific time. I don't do anything by accident as much as possible, right? Um,
You're very deliberate about
very, yeah,
what, and so parameters for how you open up things. That's awesome.
right. And so,
Self-care.
yeah, you're right. This is so important. So I've become very intentional about when I let the world in. So I try to let the world in on my terms, not on my terms, but when I'm ready, right? Because so often nowadays, the world is intruding and looking to overwhelm us and distract us and grab our attention. And if we're not the gatekeeper to our own, our own attention, then we can very quickly get caught up and lose control. And so I choose now to say, okay, I'm now ready to do my email for an hour. I am now ready to make my phone calls. I'm now ready to look at my social media. I am now ready to do this. So very, very intentional, and that makes it easier. That makes it easier, and it makes my day lighter.
Yeah, so I would say it's called boundaries. You have boundaries and parameters for how you're letting the information in or out, and
Right.
you're the boss.
Yeah, trying to be the boss. Yeah, setting up boundaries because I want to be more effective. The truth is, I want to be the best I can be for other people. And if I'm not, and so I have a responsibility to show up as the best I can be for other people. And to do that, I have to correctly now set my boundaries and so that I can better serve. And at the end of the day, it's all about service, right? It's all about serving people. If you're not
Exactly.
serving people, you're not living life, And so that's that. I do go hiking a lot, and I take a lot of photographs, and I enjoy that too. And I just enjoy the quiet of the forest, and I like to see how trees change through the seasons and how nature changes. And that's a meditation, on impermanence for me. But yeah, those are some of the things I'm doing. It sounds like you practice similar stuff.
Yes, I am so appreciative of the nearby forests that we have here, and it's
Yeah.
so good to go over to Tilden or Joaquin Miller, or all these forests and parks that we have at our fingertips. So yes, let's go for a hike sometime, Declan.
Yeah, we should. Yeah, on my Instagram page, I have it's either real estate, trees, pictures of trees, or it's going to be my podcast, because those are the three things you'll see on my Instagram. But I post a lot of my photographs of trees on Instagram, and
Excellent.
because I want people to go and hike and go out. And people say, "Where'd you take that photograph?" Tell them it's just up You got to go. I want people out there enjoying Tilden Park.
Excellent. I love that. I love that. It's so down to earth of you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're going to be wrapping up in just a moment. Declan, is there anything else that you'd like to bring to our viewers about you and how you serve, and or how do we get to find out about your podcast and come over to your neck of the woods, your podcast?
Well, the podcast is Let's Talk with Declan Spring, and it's on all the regular podcast sites. Apple is where I listen to my podcasts, and these are
Wow.
on-air conversations with people who I just think are phenomenal people, and they're in real estate, but there's plenty to grab from these conversations if you're not in real estate. Otherwise, Declan Spring, my full name, is on Instagram, and if you want to just get regular updates on how beautiful Tilden Park is, that's a great place to find me. Otherwise, I'm here to serve buyers and sellers in the East, particularly in the East Bay, and I enjoy my work and I try and bring attention to it. And so people can find my real estate website, declanspring.com. Easy to find me there.
Great.
Thank you.
So easy.
It's so easy.
What's your favorite podcast that you've done? Who have you interviewed that's your fave that we can look for if you have one?
Always my most recent podcast is always my favorite podcast. But I did, I did though I have a conversation with a good dear friend of mine. She's 91 and she lives alone, and she's her name's Edna Olmstead, and it's episode number 6. And I felt so grateful to have a chance to chat with her about her life. 91, I learned a lot from Edna, and I learned a lot from Edna. So that's a particularly good conversation that's dear to my heart.
I love it. I love it. I'll definitely look for that. I just was on a different Zoom where this 87-year-old was saying you need 8 hugs a day and 3 good belly laughs. And I'm like, filtering in place alone. And where am I going to get 8 hugs? These wise people. I love it that you're talking.
Yeah, they always bring up laughing though. Always. Sense of humor. You guys are great. This is just a great show too, and I enjoy it and being introduced to it. I'll do my best to steer people in the direction of this show too. It's good service. Thank you.
This is The Ripple Effect with David Kirsten, Wide Angle Media. We're so happy that we created this, David, for our foods. And you want to close us out, David?
Yeah, and I just had a quick question for Declan, if he could just take us through his thinking on the artwork for his podcast.
Sure. So I guess real simply, I wanted something that felt very approachable. And I said, when I was doing the little photograph here, I wanted something that felt a little old school and maybe even jazzy in my mind. And then the guy who did the music for my show, he sent me a number of albums, some artwork from classic jazz records from the 50s, and these color themes came up, and I was like, perfect. So we took the color themes and the idea to Lisa Mazer design.com, and here we go. She came up with this. It was a team effort.
It's really cool.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm very pleased with it. I think these guys, I love creative people. Man, they just blow your socks off.
Yeah, and you put your finger on it. The power of color, and a lot of it's subconscious, but the vibe that creates and how it fits you with the jazzy look and the colors is just a perfect something that really sticks in your mind. I think they say we think in images, so your podcast was already an instant success in my mind when I saw that artwork, and you have not disappointed after that first episode. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's very high quality sound. Declan's a great interviewer. It's kind of a model podcast for how to do it well. So I love promoting it, and we're so great to hear kind of more about the man behind the podcast. And with that, Declan, if you have a closing comment, let me know. Otherwise, we are going to wrap up here.
No, I really appreciate it. One thing just struck me though. You said you think in images, and this is something that's been on my mind recently. I've been actually wanting to ask my people on my podcast. I think in language, but a number of people think specifically in images. And when they see a narrated voice, say in a graphic novel, somebody thinking out loud and in words, they don't relate to that at all. Some people literally think in images and don't understand. Do you think in images, or do you think in, like, do you have a little voice in your head?
I have both, but I think images are where the emotion is. Like your subconscious thinks in images. Think about like dream sequences. So it's like I put big pieces together in images, and then I think I have that voice, but a lot of it that kind of comes later after I think.
Oh,
And
you're one
yeah,
of those
yeah,
very rare people.
yeah.
I have been looking for somebody like you, because everybody else I ask thinks they hear their own voice in their head. They narrate the story of their own lives. But you're actually thinking in images. And let me tell you, you are few and far between in terms of how you think. And that fascinates me. So anyway, that's my closing thing. It's just something I'm interested in.
Well, thanks so much, Declan. Yeah, I look forward to connecting with you soon. We'll have to get a cup of coffee over in Berkeley when the quarantine is lifted, and look forward to keeping in touch digitally until then.
Thank you very much, Erika, and Dick. Thank you so much. And continued success, both of you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Well, Erica and I are gonna sign off for the Ripple Effect on December 1st. We'll see everyone next week.
Bye, everyone.